Hey persons of age. So
Hello.
long before the era of the wiki, there used to be these things called encyclopedias, where for a small fee of thousands of dollars, they would mail you a tiny fraction of the knowledge we have access to today, and you could put it on a shelf, and it would sit there and make you look learned. But while not reading an encyclopedia is easy, not creating one is much easier, and yet we do it. Encyclopedia Britannica is still in circulation today, and it's maintained by around 100 full-time editors.
Now it's online.
4,000 contributors.
Kinda.
So whose idea was this? Who was the first person to sit down and say, today I feel like writing down everything? To answer that, we must look nearly 2,000 years in the past, to the mid-70s
Dead of Blade, I gotta think of the ons.
AD.
Who?
Pliny the Elder. Author, philosopher, veteran, imperial administrator,
so cool.
and one curious buckaroo. Early in his life, Pliny's father took him to Rome to study law. Then, as a young adult, he spent several years as a junior officer in the Roman military. His interest in literature made him a few high-ranking friends there, and when he
Look,
came
I like
home,
poems,
he took to
guys.
writing. Unfortunately,
young's
a
friends.
certain apocryphal fiddler was in charge at the time, who wasn't exactly kind to intellectuals. So Pliny kept it on the DL, mostly writing about things like grammar and rhetoric, which at the time few people found worth freaking out over. Fortunately, in June
Grammar,
of
what a-
68, Nero finally took a hint and killed himself, and following the chaos of the Year of the Four Emperors, one Vespasian came out on top. Vespasian was a general and a friend of Pliny's, so when he became emperor, he promoted Pliny to procurator, which was like the governor of a province. Suddenly, with this guy on the throne and a
What?
cushy job to pay the bills, Pliny found himself in a position to make complete use of his own potential. By day, he continued his
Too much
administrative
time.
duties, but during nights, he wrote. And over the course of a few years, with nothing but his own wits and whatever authors he could get his hands on, he created a work known as the Historia Naturalis. This consisted of 37 books, each broken up.
An account of countries, nations, seas, town. Okay, that's like geography. An account of countries, again. Now exists or formerly exist. Oh, that's like history. Man, his birth, his organization, and the invention of hearts. Animals, fishes, birds, insects. There's a bunch of like animals. Bird and plants. Oh my god, how many is there for like animals? There's so many. Living creature? It's like just for living animals, there's like half of the book for
into
that.
many dozens of chapters covering just about every topic there is. While it wasn't quite an encyclopedia
Like half of
in the
it
modern
animals.
sense, it's still the earliest surviving attempt at an all-encompassing scholarly work, and it is a trip. I've been reading it. It is fascinating, not only as a reflection of what people did and did not know in the Roman Empire, but also as a reflection of Pliny himself, who is a character and who made zero attempt to hide it. So today, I come to
He
you
is
with
a
a brief
character.
summary of the first part of a brief summary of all human knowledge according to one dude circa 77 AD. Now, the original thing makes for a fairly long read. Even removing most of the more uninteresting details, I've only managed to fit the first 2 books into today's video. As for the other 35, I'm gonna let Pliny do the narration himself using my voice. He gets a lot of things shockingly right and a lot shockingly wrong. Rather
I'm
than
sure he's
constantly
smarter than
chiming in
you,
with fact
bro.
checks, I'm just gonna throw chess.com analysis icons in the corner for every claim he makes. I'll also provide relevant snippets of the actual text I'm paraphrasing just for reference. If you're one of the people who likes to pause the video just to see the funny ha-has I snuck into the freeze frame, rest assured there will be none today. You can just let it play. One last warning, while there is a loose overall structure to this thing, it also seems like Pliny just kind of wrote whatever was in his head for a given chapter. He has a habit of jumping back and forth between completely
He's just an
disparate
old
topics
man
and going on
mumbling
weird
about
personal
stuff in the
tangents
world.
between. I am presenting this thing in the exact order it's written, so if it at any point seems utterly scatterbrained, it's his fault, not mine. Anyway, take it away. Yo.
Yo. No ads! Dude! Is there a book I'll have? Oh, ads are fucking annoying. Look at that dragon. Is there a dragon in this book? Okay, gaming. Oh!
Right, let me get right ahead of things. These books are strictly about this world and the things we can see around it. If you're one of those madmen who think there are other worlds beyond this one, give it a rest, alright? That's psychotic. You can't know these things, and you can't grasp infinity. Stop trying, you'll hurt
Ooh, what a reality guy.
yourself. So the heavens are a perfect sphere and they spin around us perfectly. It takes 24 hours for them to do one spin, which is actually really fast because the universe is huge. In fact, massive objects all whooshing around us this fast should be incredibly loud at all times. Why isn't this the case? The whole shebang is composed of 4 elements, right, which sort themselves by weight. Earth is heaviest, so it falls to the middle of everything, into a sphere, and it stays still. It's the only still thing. On top of that is water, then air, and fire's the lightest, which is why the sun and stars are made of it. The sun kicks ass, easily the best of the 7 things up there. Basically a god. Not literally. Don't try to answer questions about God's nature, by the way. You'll just confuse yourself. There's at most one God, and he's everything, and he doesn't do weird human shit like getting jealous or banging other gods. I swear, people just make up new gods every time they want something specific. Let me tell you, there was a temple on Palatine Hill dedicated, through my tax dollars, by the way, to fever. Like
My tax dollars?
You understand that's bad shit, right? Or something specific. Let me tell you, there was a temple on Palatine Hill dedicated, through my tax dollars, by the way, to fever, like the illness. You understand that's bad shit, right? Things like that are why we've got more gods than people at this point. Folks in other countries worship animals and obscene things like stinking meats. There are gods of theft and other crimes. It's all folly. You want to be godly? Just help others. That's the way of the old Roman nobles, and that's the way of the noblest noble of all, Emperor Vespasian Augustus, who may or may not be my best buddy. But anyway, if there is a god, he doesn't care about what you do. People put crazy emphasis on the religion, avoiding foods, worrying themselves sick about all kinds of sacred rules. Look, I hang around the Capitol. There's a lot of rat bastards in politics, real scumbags, and they are thriving. You don't need to torture yourself. Have a bacon. Nobody gives a shit. Back to the stars, which, by the way, also don't give a shit about you specifically. For big history changing
what a nihilist. You know what a nihilist? That's funny coming from Rome too.
Stuff, yeah, they'll act up, but you, reader, do not need to worry. Anyway, most of them are fixed in a sphere really high up there. We'll call this the heavens. Between the heavens and the earth, there are 7 other bodies to talk about. Highest up there, we got Saturn, then there's Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. The heavens spin to the right, all these guys spin to the left. Saturn is cold, Mars is hot, but Jupiter's just right. The sun's orbit is made up of 360 degrees, 1 degree per day, except not quite. We have to add 5 1/4 days or else our sundials break. Down to Venus and Mercury, these guys are weird because they like to hang around the sun. Fun fact, Venus is actually bright enough to help out the sun and moon sometimes. When it's helping the sun, we call it Lucifer, the light bringer. And when it's helping the moon, we call it Vesper, the sleepy time guy. Mercury tries to do the same thing, but he's much more lame and cringe, so he can't. The moon's got phases, as you know, and she gets closer and farther away at different times. And Daimion figured out lots of cool info about the moon's orbit, and you assholes bullied him for it. Yeah. This man unraveled the secrets of the universe, and in return, everyone goes, ho ho ho, he's in love with the moon. That's because humans are sick in the head. They'd rather read stories about bloodshed and massacres like that matters more than the fabric of reality. Get a clue. Anyway, the moon has phases because of the way it borrows light from the sun, which might be what these other guys do too, we don't know yet. All those spots on it are actually puddles because it likes to draw up moisture from the earth, which is where we get the tides. And every now and then, it casts its shadow on Earth. We call these eclipses, and they are freaking wicked. Eclipses can happen the other way around too, and the way these happen prove that the moon is bigger than the earth and the sun's way bigger than both of them. Oh, and just so we're clear, eclipses are a natural thing.
Wait, I haven't paid attention to those things. The chess.
It's not the apocalypse or God's wrath. They follow rules. Even the Greeks could predict them. Settle down. Back to the planets. They're all kind of in the same belt up there, and they all get farther and closer to us at different points because their orbits are complicated.
Complicated. Why the same star appears at some time more lofty and another some time near?
They follow the same rules as each other, but there's some goofiness, like the ones further than the sun move the slowest when they're the farthest away from us, but the closer ones move the quickest then. We can chalk this up to the sun emitting vapors that must push them around in weird ways. Thunderbolts come from Jupiter, and we don't know why. One theory is that it's because Saturn is very moist and Mars is very fiery, and when they meet in the middle, we get celestial fire thrown down at us. Same reason a wet log crackles and throws off embers in a fire. There is a type of star that moves around and vanishes. We call these comets, and they come in all kinds of flavors. These might actually be omens. I mean, there have been some weird coincidences. Some people think comets are permanent, and we only see them.
They're real, bro. They're making stuff. Okay, don't fuck with comets.
And they swing by the right way, while others say they're just flare-ups of celestial vapor that dissipate on their own. Now to talk about some real anomalies, things we've only rarely seen. The sun goes dim sometimes, like when Caesar got killed. Matter of fact, during the Civil War with Mark Antony, it stayed dim for like a year. Multiple suns have been seen at the same time time on several occasions, but no more than 3. 3's the record. Same with moons. One time a burning shield darted across the sky, throwing sparks as it went. Another time someone saw a shooting star fly
Did they see aliens?
towards us until it was as big as the moon, and then it turned around and went back to being a normal comet. Side note, even the translator was like, I don't know what the fuck he's...
It would be difficult to reconcile this phenomenon with any knowledge atmospheric phenomenon. I mean, he's like kind of empirical. He's like, you know, we need to observe and be empirical. Kinda. Not that much. Comments.
Finally, there are the stars Castor and Pollux. If you see both of them, it's good luck, but be advised, if one's alone, he turns into a little bastard.
There's like some spiritually, like metaphysical shit in there.
He can and will come down and set your boat on fire. That's the celestial sphere taken care of. Now let's move down a peg to the air. The air ends way before the moon, and it mixes with water vapor to create the weather. The sun dries up water on the earth, it goes up and turns into clouds, and then it's pushed back down again by the, you know, the star forces that keep stuff on earth. We get rain and hail and such, and it keeps going round and round like some kind of water cycle. The seasons go around once a year, and we don't know exactly why, but it definitely has to do with the motion of the stars. Like some are wet or dry, hot or cold, and that influences the climate when they move. Especially Saturn, he always soaks the place going by.
Oh, Saturn!
Actually. Oh, I almost forgot the dog star. This guy's nuts.
This guy is like a Carl Sagan of his time. He just knew.
It kindles the sun's vapors, and when it rises, the ocean gets upset, wine ferments, and stagnant waters are set in motion. And there's a creature called the oryx in Egypt, and when the dog star goes up, they look at it and they sneeze out of worship. It also makes dogs go rabid, hence the name. But the stars and the seasons they create have profound effects on nature, and it's not just the weather changes that do it. Some flora and fauna have weird links to the heavens. Pelagium blooms right on the winter solstice, even when hung up to dry.
I'm going to do my own encyclopedia. Yup, I'm going to do my own encyclopedia. I'm going to record everything that exists. Okay, first thing first. Video games. I can put here Fortnite, League of Legends, Minecraft. After that list of women, the queen, she's dead. List of beers, Corona, Blue Pabst. Why? Alright, that's it. I did it. Thank you.
In the house. And heliotrope follows the sun even when it's cloudy. The moon makes oysters bigger and ants lazier, and diseases in the eyes of livestock.
He's just making stuff up. He's like, oh yeah, it's doing that.
Will grow and diminish based on its phase. That's just a few examples. Hey, let's talk about the winds. The ancient Greeks have published a lot of great observations about the winds. Those were warish, disconnected times, which makes their work all the more impressive. Nowadays, in this great peace, every shore of this sea welcomes Romans. And what are we doing? When's the last time we sent anybody out to investigate this world with inquiry in their heart? Plenty of expeditions, sure, but that's just because you got some shit to sell. Rather than pursue science that would benefit all of mankind, you're hawking olives in Byzantium just to watch your abacus go up.
Yeah, tell them! Fuck capitalism! Yeah! No! Ads! Tonnerre de Brest! It was real for that.
But anyway, how many winds are there?
They should have just explored.
4, but that's clearly not enough. The next generation overcorrected
and killed the Indians 10,000 years before.
12, and shit got messy and elegant. So today, us modern folk take the middle of the road with a nice even 8 total. 2 for each quarter of the heavens, and they've got a bunch of fun names. And yeah, if we wanted to add in the old reject winds, we could. And there's even a couple extra secret winds only recognized by a select few. Plus there's certain winds that only blow in certain regions of the world. But, you know, broad strokes, it'll do you fine. These winds each blow at their various allotted times of the year, and the winter ones make for particularly rough seas. In former times, pirates were compelled, by the fear of death, to rush into death and to brave the winter ocean. Now we are driven to it by avarice. Direction isn't the only difference between the winds, though.
Avarice? Wait.
Now we are driven...
On it.
Pirates were compelled, by the fear of death, to rush into death and to brave the winter ocean. Now we are driven to it by avarice. Direction isn't the only
avarice. Wait, what is this word? This guy is woke. This guy has the woke virus, okay? Avarice. Meaning. An excessive and unsettled desire for wealth or gain. Wait, this guy is so woke.
Between the winds, though, they can all be characterized by their temperature, their moisture, and the kind of weather they tend to bring. Volturnus is dry, Septentrio brings snow and hail, Auster is sultry, Aquilo is the most healthy, real motley crew, those winds.
What?
But while those guys are generally pretty calm, we must also consider the sudden, violent gusts we call storms. Storms are self-contained events that come in a few flavors themselves, like Eknephius, which brings thunder and lightning, or Typhon, which doesn't. Certain storms also give rise to whirlwinds, which are these giant, loud pillars of wind and moisture that destroy everything in their path.
That sounds as crazy as some stuff he said, okay? I don't know why, but tornadoes just sound crazy that those things exist. And that's the thing that happens. There's a lot of stuff like that.
So dense that they can actually support themselves on the ground, and if they happen over the sea, they suck up the water as they go. Thunderstorms produce lightning, and lightning is crazy. It has this unique property where it can damage things on the inside while leaving the outside unharmed. It can empty casks of their wine without breaking the vessel itself, and it can melt gold and silver without burning the bag they're in. One time, a noblewoman named Marcia was struck by lightning while pregnant, and while the baby got fried, she herself survived without injury. Many people believe that when lightning strikes a man, it can be used to predict his future, with terms and conditions, of course. Some historians
Terms
also
and
strikes a man,
conditions.
it can be used to predict his future, with...
But it is not generally supposed that they predict events of a private nature for a longer space than 10 years, unless they happen at the time of a first marriage or a birthday. Nor that public prediction extend beyond 30 years.
Terms and conditions, of course. Some historians also state that man is capable of invoking lightning. The author El Piso said that the ancient king Numa did it all the time. Then his successor, Tullus Hostilius, tried to imitate him, but he didn't do the ceremonies right, so he just got electrocuted. Is any of this true? Maybe. At the very least, I buy the fortune-telling thing. Now, we all know that we see lightning before we hear thunder. That's nothing special. It's just because light has a greater velocity than sound. It's the same event. Thunder's just the sound that lightning makes. Fun fact, man is the only animal that isn't always killed by lightning. Any other creature, instant death every time, but we're special. Lightning can strike just about anything,
we're humans.
except for laurels, seals, and eagles. They're all safe. It also never descends more than 5 feet into the ground, so if you're someone who's scared of lightning, your best bets are deep caves or a tent made out of seal skin. Besides all this normal weather, we do have records of some real weird stuff falling from the sky. It has rained milk and blood on many occasions. One time it rained flesh, and the fallen meat that wasn't eaten by birds just didn't rot. You know, your casual immortal meat storm. One time it rained
That's real.
That's real. There was a shower of baked tiles. What a country, huh? Stones have been known to fall from the sky now and then. The Greeks like to brag about how the philosopher Anaxagoras correctly predicted such an event, but I find that dubious. We know a stone fell. It was like a wagon.
I find it dubious, but you know, when it rains meat, yeah, I'm good. That's real.
Big, but I think Anaxagoras just got lucky. I mean, the guy said it would fall out of the sun. What are you on about? The sun can't do a rock. It doesn't have rocks.
Why not? Have you talked to him? Have you asked him? I never seen you in the same room as the sun. Who's this guy? Who's this nerd? Thinking he knows the truth. I'm gonna go pray now.
Rainbows are nothing
By
special.
Thunder
We get them
King
all the time.
Zeus.
They don't predict the weather or anything else. They're just something that happens. Rays of sunlight hit a hollow cloud and they get refracted. And the colors are due to a mixture of clouds, air, and fire. Let's come down from the air onto the earth. Good old Mother Earth. The other 3 elements are bastards. You never know when they're gonna turn on you. Fire burns us, water pelts us as hail and floods our villages, air rages and squalls, but Earth, she's just hanging out. And what a bounty she has for us.
Wait,
Crops,
earthquakes.
Flowers, medicinal plants. In her compassion, she even gave
Did he
us
forget
poison,
earthquakes?
so when life sucks, we can kill ourselves quickly. And what does
What?
bounty she has for us, giving us crops, flowers, medicinal plants. In her compassion, she even gave us poison, so when life sucks, we can kill ourselves quickly. And what does man do? Naturally, we take advantage of her kindness. We torture her for all the iron, timber, and stone she can bear, and then we use that iron to tear out her entrails in search of gems to put on our fingers.
Why
Do you
so
know
woke?
how many hands have to be worked to the bone just to decorate one joint of another? Honestly, if hell existed, all this greedy digging would get us there. But, of course, whatever we take from her, we all pay back in blood and bones eventually. World keeps turning. Just wish y'all weren't such ingrates about it. Anyway, as we blood and bones eventually. World keeps turning. Just wish you...
I consider the ignorance of our nature as one of the evil effects of an ungrateful mind.
Y'all aren't such ingrates about it.
I'm an intellectual. Elite.
Anyway, as we said, the Earth is a perfect sphere, except for, you know, mountains and valleys, but close enough. There's a question we get all the time when people first learn about this, particularly from the commoners. They'll go, right, if Earth's a ball, why don't people on the other side fall off? To that I say, why doesn't the whole thing fall down? Where would it go if it did? Up into the other sky? That doesn't make sense. No, the Earth is right where it belongs. Then they'll say, alright, fine, but why is the ocean flat then? Guess what? It's not. Here, take a glass of water, fill it to the brim, then drop a little something in there. See that slight, subtle curve? That's the ocean. You can see it when a ship goes out to sea. The bottom bit will disappear over the horizon before the mast does. And so it goes all.
That's actually a smart. I'm gonna use that for flat earthers. I'm gonna show them. Yo.
The way around. One time, some Indians got blown off course by a storm and ended up in Germany.
Really?
Note, this was not the first nor the last time the translator started his annotation with this exact 11 syllables.
It is scarcely necessary to remark that the account error given must be incorrect.
Sigh of frustration. The ocean they must have crossed had to be massive, like half the globe. Real quick, let's think about how much of the world is even inhabitable. We got one hemisphere over here, which is divided into 5 zones, right? On the top and bottom, miserable, nothing but cold and darkness. In the middle, sun's too close, burns everything, miserable. So already we only got a fifth of the place to ourselves. Then take into account all the seas and mountains and wilderness and other crap in the way, there's barely anything left. And this is what every war in history has been over, this tiny portion of what amounts to a speck in the universe. Even if you conquered the world,
so
you'd barely
deep.
started. And how much of it can you bring with you to the grave, huh? So the Earth is in the middle of the universe, and we know this because of the equinoxes. Day and night, perfectly balanced on these 2 dates. We're right in the middle. It just makes sense. There's plenty of other proof that we live on a globe. Certain stars can only be seen from different parts of the world, and that's because the Earth's in the way. Just ask a sailor, they'll see new stars squink their way out of the horizon as they go. Also, eclipses show that the time of day depends on your east-west position. A few years back, the same eclipse of the sun, same exact event, was seen at 8 in Campania, but at noon in Armenia. Try splaining that one, planists. Here's another. One time, a courier named Philonides ran from Sicyon to Elis, which is a distance of 1,200 stadia. The way there took him 9 hours, but then the return trip took him 15. And it's not because he was tired or took a break somewhere. Brother, he ran against the sun. Likewise, the length of shadows on a given day depends.
The sun was slowing him down, bro. You don't understand. You
on your latitude. In Egypt, on the
ignorant
summer solstice at noon, their sundials cast a shadow half the length of the pointy bit, whereas in Venice, at the very same hour, the shadow's as long as the pointy bit. If you keep going south, eventually you'll reach a point where the sun's straight up at the solstice. We dug a well in a town called Syene just to check.
It's just proving how the globe is globe.
Again, sure enough, it's light all the way down. If you go even further south, you'll notice the sun do that twice a year at equal distances from the solstice. There's also a place in India where there just aren't shadows, ever, and as a consequence, the people there don't know what hours are. But because of the way the sun moves, you'll notice that the longest day of the year is longer the further north you go. In Alexandria, on the summer solstice, they get 14 hours of daylight. In Italy, it's 15, and in Britain, it's 17. Following this pattern, we believe that at the very North Pole, it's 24, meaning they get 6 months of daylight at a time, with 6 months of night on the other side. The difference in climate based on latitude is clearly reflected in the nations that live there. For one, the Ethiopians.
Ads! Wait, what do you mean Ethiopians? What did he say? Did he say something?
Reflected in the nations that live there. For one, to
these circumstances, we must add those who are connected with certain celestial causes. There can be no doubt that the Ethiopians are born like person who have born with this beard.
Ethiopians. Let's talk about earthquakes. The Babylonians used to blame these on the movements of the stars. One guy is even said to have predicted an earthquake through astrological means. Is that true? I'll let you be the judge. I, for one, believe that earthquakes are caused by the winds. Think about it.
Okay, I'll give him a chance. You know, he seemed like a smart guy. Let's see.
Earthquake, it's always very calm. The seas are tranquil. There's not a single bird in the sky. Why? No wind. They can't fly. Where'd the wind go? underground. It gets stuck down there and it builds up until finally hell literally breaks loose. It starts off with a horrible noise, like cows mooing or people fighting in the distance. Then everything shakes, hard. Whole city walls get knocked down, and sometimes the earth opens up and swallows them entirely. The shaking's even noticed by people on ships who get hit by waves without any wind. Earthquakes also make well water turn cloudy and smelly. So the obvious question is, what the hell can we do about it? Well, places with a lot of natural caverns or man-made sewers tend to get fewer earthquakes. That's because the underground air has an easy way to escape. Buildings that are arched or that lean against each other also tend to fare better in the event of an earthquake. Barring all else, at least things are usually over with quickly. Although some earthquakes have been known to last days, months, even 1 or 2 years straight. As for related anomalies, about a century and a half ago, 2 mountains slammed together and collapsed, and fire and smoke came from the ground where they stood. More recently, under Nero, there was a knight named Vectius Marcellus who woke up to find that his fields and olive grounds swapped places with each other.
I believe
no
that.
mayhem or destruction, just, oh, this is over here now, okay? But just as Earth swallows up land in one place, she spits it back out elsewhere. As such, islands sometimes rise up spontaneously out of open sea. We have tons of records of these events across the Mediterranean. They're often accompanied by a giant fiery explosion and loads of dead fish floating everywhere. It's said that one time some people ate these fish, and then they too immediately died. But enough of tragedies. Let's turn back to the wonders of the Earth, such as there are many caverns filled with gas that instantly kills things. Some kill only birds, others kill everything but people, and still more kill everything and people. In a few caves, those who breathe the gas instead become intoxicated and start predicting the future, as is the case with the famous oracle at Delphi. We can ascribe these effects to the divine power of nature. I mean, what else could it be? How the hell do you explain that rationally? But while most
Yeah, how do you explain that rationally? Just starting like spitting facts about the world. No, no, it's going to do that.
islands are attached to the earth at the bottom, there are a few that
There's something about humans, and you know, I'll do it that way. There's like the world that's like outside of us, and then there's the social world. The social world cannot be fucked with, you know? That is the truth and cannot be like questioned. So that's where the divine is, in the social world. But outside of that, there's like just a normal world, like this guy's talk about. When we talk, do that make sense? It's like the social world is so, it's our reality, like even more real than the rest. So it's like I don't know.
float. The Calamine Islands are not only moved by the wind, but the people on them
You know, like existence is inside the social world. Social world is inside the physic world. But like for so long, we just like kind of was talking about the physical world, and when it was time to explain the social world, it was like, oh, gods. Or I don't know what, stories, cultures.
can actually push them around with the long poles to go wherever they want.
It's too hard to explain it rationally. I don't know why. I don't know.
There's another group of floating islands.
Does that make sense?
So-called.
That feels like a kind of fun theory to think about.
Because they move to the beat of drums played on their surface. I've got a few more miscellaneous wonders here. Let me just rattle them off. In Harpassa, there's a giant rock that can be moved by one finger, but not by the force of the whole body. In Paracity, there's a type of dirt that heals all wounds. In Troas, there's a stone that makes dead bodies dissolve. Near the Indus River, there's two mountains, one of which attracts iron and the other repels it. So if you had iron nails in your shoes, you couldn't step on the one or off the other. In Argyripa, the grania plant doesn't grow, and in Crustaminium, the hay springs up already
on League of Legends, friendship is real.
Rotten. Let's turn now to the tides. We know these are caused by the moon and to a lesser degree the sun. Moon overhead they go up, moon on the other side they go down. A large open ocean is needed to manifest this power of the planet, which is why neither lakes nor rivers have tides. In Britain, the tide rises 120 feet. The tides do a full cycle twice a day, except in Euboea, where they do it 7 times. Aristotle said that animals only die when the tide is ebbing, but really that's only true of people.
How does he explain those little, like, minutiae? Those little, like, thing that doesn't work with the old thing. Is this just magic?
Watch. Seawater
What?
is high when the tide is ebbing, but really where they do it 7 times. Aristotle said that animals only die when the tide is ebbing, but really that's only true of people. Watch. Seawater is salty, and that's because the sun evaporates all the mild, sweet water while leaving all the gross crap that ends up in the ocean behind. A number of estimates have been made for the depth of the ocean, ranging from 15 stadia to who the hell knows. Seawater is also
Who the
heavier
hell
than
knows?
freshwater, which is why things float better on it. As with everything in nature, bodies of water have no shortage of weird stuff they get down to. Some rivers actually run underground before bursting out again elsewhere. We know they're the same river because if you chuck stuff in one, it comes out the other side. There's a lake in Judea where nothing sinks at all. In Dodona, there's a spring called the Fountain of Jupiter, and though the water there is cold as ice, it'll relight extinguished torches held near its surface. The river Melos turns sheep black when they drink from it, while the Cephasus makes them turn white. The Peneus turns them black again, and then the Xanthus makes them red. The river Astaces makes the horses there produce black milk, which the people use for food. There's a spring in the island of Andros that tastes like wine. The river Lyncestis tastes sour but gets you drunk like wine, and in Arcadia, there's a river called the Styx that kills you instantly. In Labrosis, there are 3 springs, all of which also kill you instantly, but in a much less painful fashion than the Styx. That's enough of those. From here we turn at last to the 4th element, fire. In Samosata, along the Euphrates, there's a big pool of this flammable mud they call maltha. It sticks to everything it touches, and if you set it on fire, even water won't extinguish it. Romans invaded these lands long ago, and the people there poured the stuff on our soldiers, cooked them in their armor like a crab. There's certain places in the world where fire's always burning. The summits of many mountains are home to such flames, as are the occasional crater and field. And of course, the sun and stars are no exception. What a weird thing these are, like fire needs fuel to spread and sustain itself. So what is it that can feed these flames without destroying itself in the process?
True.
There's a thinker for ye. But besides these guys, where else does fire come from? You got fires lit by men, for one. Certain stones have fire in them innately. There's the fire you get from rubbing sticks together, and there's the fire in clouds that causes lightning. You can also use concave mirrors to focus sunlight into fire. Highly potent, do be careful. Sudden fires also manifest occasionally in the human body. One time, when 6th king of Rome, Servius Tullius, was a child, he was just sleeping there when suddenly flames shot out of his freaking head. I've got more fun facts like this to drop later, but it's about time we wrap this book up. And what better way than by sizing up the entire globe? So I ran some numbers, added some distances, checked some other people's answers. I've got some estimates here on the width of the inhabited world, from the mouth of the Ganges in India to the port city of Gades in the west. These all fall around 9,000 miles, give or take 1,000. But like I said before, the uninhabited Earth extends far beyond that. Eratosthenes was a really bright dude, and he put the circumference at 31,500 miles. What a big, wild world.
Is he the no, he named a bunch of people, I think.
It
I was like, how much does he give sources to other people?
is. Just how wild? You'll have to tune in next time for books 3 through 6, all of which are titled An Account of Countries, Nations, Seas, Towns, Havens, Mountains, Rivers, Distances, and Peoples who now exist or formerly existed. But for now, I'm Pliny the Elder, et gratias ago tibi, qui expectandi.
Oh!
Hope sitting at home fuming at my pronunciation right there.
Okay, who cares, SamONella?
Sitting at home fuming at my
Yeah, he's fuming in heaven of the gods. Happy Halloween, everybody. Thanks. This is insanely good. I'm like this guy, okay? I need to finish my list of everything. What's everything? Words. Air. I think I did a good job. I think I did a good job. There's smiling faces. That was cool. So there was this thing, and I think there was something else I wanted to watch. Let's see. Then I'll play like Disco Elysium or something. I don't know. I want to. Those games I want to play with someone. I don't want to just play alone. Here we go. Channel 5.
You tell us about your sign.
Yes.
That's
government recognized
that's
terrorism,
Pep.
MLK. No.
That's Pep. Let's see what people say about him.
Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, Luigi Mangione.
Yeah, he's like
This
Gandhi.
just speaks to the fact that historically, many human rights leaders who have stood up against mistreatment, against apartheid, have also been labeled as terrorists to sow doubt and fear.
Obviously, what Luigi did was an act of violence. Not going to touch on that as much, but he
has lifted us out of the dust in the trivialness of politics and
His thing took like 1 week and I already forgot about it.
legislation.
What a great guy.
I believe that this is being done to send a message.
healthcare should not be for profit. That is the bare minimum. If you put profit anywhere near protecting human life, people will prioritize profit. You cannot have a for-profit system that prioritizes human life and profit. It is impossible.
I've had somebody on the floor fainting, on the verge of dying, who was literally saying,
Do you think those guys play League of Legends? She doesn't play League.
begging, please don't
She could. Would she play? She's like top. She would be top.
call an ambulance because my family cannot afford it. Do you know what it is?
I'm
to
sorry,
have
that's
somebody
mean.
in so much pain and
I-
only thinking.
I need
my
to be
family
serious.
cannot
That's
afford it. I'd like
serious
to ask
conversation.
The public in general, why is our
Would
court-
Gandhi play League? Gandhi would have been like jungle. Yep.
profit and denying people the right to healthcare in their most vulnerable moments?
As you may be aware, there are some current health insurance policies out, such as limiting the number of hours of anesthesia that will be covered by health insurance for patients. And recently, another health insurance company changed their policy on benefits for children with autism. At the end of the day, our message is not to comment on any healthcare policy alternatives, but to state insurance companies, business people, and people looking to make a profit should not be the ones in charge.
I'm kind of confused with the whole healthcare thing because there are like so many actors and I don't know what actors do. Okay, there's like insurance companies, there's Medicare for all, there's also like pharma, big pharma, and there's like ads, and there's like hospital, there's like private and not private, and there's like the government, and there's like stuff and like clinic and like abortion. There's like too much stuff to keep up to keep.
Of which healthcare treatments or procedures people can receive.
What's up, guys? 2:28 p.m., December 21st, 2024. I'm here in Washington Square Park in New York City.
There appears to be a few things going on right now. There's a rap battle cipher happening. There's
He just knows where the rap battles are. He got a flair for it. He's like, rap battles, where?
TikTok dance challenge, a free the hostages protest.
And I'm at the Free Luigi rally. You guys probably know who Luigi is. He's
That's
being
Pep.
held in MDC in Brooklyn right now.
Nigga in there for a body, but he doing the right thing. I said Luigi been the dawn since he put his Pampers on. Vagabonds ran out the mouth like a marathon. Spazzing out, he hopped in the whip, then he carried on with the shooters, got more names in every arm. Free Luigi, gang, that ass. Free Luigi. I'll trade plays. I've been in jail for 5 years. He don't know what it's like yet.
He is suspected of assassinating the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson.
Brian Thompson is dead after being shot in Midtown Manhattan. The shooting happened near the Midtown Hilton. Thompson was not staying in the hotel, but we've learned he was in New York for an investors conference.
According to a manifesto that was leaked by investigative journalist Ken Klibenstein, who we interview later in this
The
video.
only thing I learned about his manifesto was like, oh, I'm not dumb. I'm not really smart about it. He was like some guy that like all his life for it, and he just decided to do that. Kind of went crazy or something.
Luigi has a major problem with the health insurance industry, and possibly health insurance claim denials, which essentially means insurance companies refusing to cover the cost of medical treatment for insured patients, aka paying customers. For you pampered Europeans out there who don't know what freedom tastes like, let me explain something to you. In the United States, on top of sales and personal
Freedom to pay my insurance.
we also pay, on average, $550 a month to private companies for something called health
How many?
income tax. We also pay, on average, $550 a month to private companies for something called health insurance.
That's like how many percent? What is this? Monthly cost? Average monthly cost of health insurance by state. 15%. What? Policy for a 40-year-old? What does it mean when it's red? Plus? I understand.
tax. We also pay, on average, $550 a month to private companies for something called
Fucking A. They pay like 6. And that's like what I paid for like a bit less than what I paid for my apartment.
health insurance,
Jeez.
who in return give us a cool card that we take to the doctor when something goes wrong. At the hospital or at the front desk of an urgent care clinic, the doctor or receptionist, before telling you what's wrong or what the options are for treatment, will first ask you if you have the card or not. If you don't have the card, just getting into the door and being seen by a doctor is between 2 to 10 times more expensive.
Ouch.
Then after you're in there, the tomfoolery continues. After a doctor diagnoses you and makes a recommendation as to what they believe is the correct course of action, whether it be surgery, therapy, medication, or what have you, they have to file a claim with your insurance provider and ask them, you know, the ones you're paying, if it's in budget for their company. This is called filing a health insurance claim. In some cases, companies will deny the claims, which forces doctors and physicians to present their patients with a depressing ultimatum. Either pay exorbitant uninsured rates for care, or if you can't afford it, get the hell out of here, you sick bastard, and come back with some money. And if you can't find some money, you could submit an appeal and begin that loop.
Whoa! Insurance community claims denied. Internal appeal. That's like, that must be taking so long.
Process, which on average takes over 180 days. A
Nice.
window in which 47% of respondents said their health condition got worse. United Healthcare, of which Brian Thompson was the CEO, has the highest claim denial rate of any other major health insurance company. Part of this has to do with the fact that during COVID, the company began using AI to assess and deny claims.
Data is at the core of our agenda to improve healthcare, which directly influences how we develop innovative consumer solutions.
According to a class action lawsuit filed in Minnesota by the estates of 2 deceased patients. The AI tool they deployed, called NaviHealth, now defunct, had a known 90% error rate, but the company refused to fix the problem.
What? 90% error rate? That's like insanely high.
Had a known 90%
Definitely no.
error rate,
Whoa.
but the company refused to fix the problem, leading to a series of protests and more litigation from across the country, way before Luigi entered the picture.
Complicating the crime, Thompson was under investigation for insider trading. The city of Hollywood's Firefighters Pension Fund is part of a class action lawsuit against Thompson and United Healthcare.
These parasites had it coming, Luigi allegedly writes, framing Brian Thompson as a predatory businessman and himself as an arbiter of karmic retribution. Thompson leaves behind a soon-to-be ex-wife and 2 teenage sons, which is sad. People dying sucks. However, 41% of young voters polled by Emerson College in Boston say the assassination was quote-unquote acceptable. And the past few weeks on social media have seen a rabid frenzy of cult-like Luigi worship, exalting him as a righteous reaper who took matters into his own hands. Something of a communist Kyle Rittenhouse, fulfilling a deep, almost primal void that so many have had for an Italian-American anti-hero since Tony Soprano left us in 2007.
His commissary good, he got bitches visiting him, all that.
Despite having pled not guilty, market data suggests that Luigi hats are flying off the shelves at record rates. And with no progressive policy change in the cards for the next 4 years, scores of young progressives have been given hope.
This is a person that he saw was the head of a company that was guiding a company that implemented an AI system to deny claims to vulnerable people, elderly people, that had a denial rate of over almost 90%, that was continuing, to just profit off of widespread suffering.
If you were to ask how many people who are insured get denied their healthcare claims, there's no math on that because they will never release those numbers. They don't have to, and it would incriminate them. If you were to ask how many were uninsured and die every year, it's approximately 48,000, which is 4,000 people a month, 130 a day, 5 an hour, and 1 person every minute and a half is dying in this country because they're being held hostage by the health insurers. Every person that dies does not just die. They are killed by the health insurance system. They are assassinated. They are executed by the capitalist system for profit.
Wow.
And so to pretend that one man in charge of that system being executed is somehow more important than every single person every minute and a half who is being executed it's abominable.
Imagine carefully planning the execution of someone you don't even know, haven't met, someone who hasn't done a thing to you, and now he's a hero to some on the left.
The media
Communism.
That because you shoot somebody, it's somehow more unacceptable.
It's kind of weird though. It's like, what makes morally right a killing like that, It's funny how like
than to sign a paper denying somebody coverage and signing their death warrant. But it's murder just the same.
As sad as death is, I mean,
It's like the weight of a death. It's like depending on the situation, the death is not put the same. Kinda. No, that's interesting.
this country has been built on blood and death. And
You know, the president and the vice president are posing and smiling with a known murderer, Daniel Penny, who is, we know, murdered a man. Whether the legality lets him go to prison or stand go free is a completely different thing. So I would say to the president, if he would stop eating McDonald's and get out of the golf resort, he could maybe ask the billionaire who's dog walking him if he could start working for healthcare for the people that elected him.
Because health is one of the most important things to being human. It's one of the things that continue to make us humane, that allow us to do all of the things that society continues to build on, all the things that make you happy, activities, whatsoever. If you are not in good health, then that basically closes the door to every other thing that you would like to do in life. And every other major first world nation, and all of the others, have universal health care.
I came down here because personally I'm going through the whole healthcare thing. I got the same back surgery as Luigi. Probably, what was it, December 24th?
Can you explain exactly what that surgery is?
It is a surgery on your lumbar. It would be, I believe that would be the L4 and 5 that I got the surgery on.
Lumbar is like the lower part of your back?
Yeah, the lumbar down at the bottom here. And also I got one in my neck.
According to Reddit posts made by Luigi, he underwent a pretty difficult spinal surgery last year for chronic back pain, specifically in the lower lumbar region, where he had a misalignment that caused him extreme pain, unable to look up, arch his back, surf, rock climb, or be intimate. The surgery, called a discectomy, typically costs between $15,000 and $50,000 without insurance.
Ouch.
And even those who can afford it often find themselves waiting months and even years for care.
So when I got my surgery, it was a year and a half of trying to get the ability to get the surgery, and the whole time I had nerve damage. Now I have permanent nerve damage, and they're saying that a lot of it was because I had to sit around for so long. So what they gave me was like a medication. I was on pain like opiates. Now the insurance companies are saying that it's not a long-term thing. I can't sleep, I can't do anything without like medication. I'm at the point where I can't even afford to keep going with insurance. I haven't worked for 2 years since this incident.
Damn.
And like, I guess the reason why I'm down here is because I keep hearing, you know, about everybody suffering from the healthcare system, and like myself, I'm about to be homeless. Like I lost everything. I was making about $114K a year, and now I'm down to nothing. When I went to the disability,
Even if hey, there's that thing too. Even if you understand all the actors that like makes the price of the insurance and the price of the medication itself, there's all the human cost too. You know, the trajectory of all those people going inside that system too. You know, you could study that thing in so many ways. That's the thing. It's so complicated, right? I feel there's like one point. There's like one side is just okay. Understanding how did we get to that kind of pricing, whether for insurance or the meds themselves, and there's the other part that's like, you know, the people that goes through that process for that product. What happens outside of the product itself? You know, it's like this man.
office and everything.
Crazy,
I did
man.
that over a year and a half ago, and I'm still pending in the courts. I haven't had a first court date. So the whole system is...
and now it's like, even in that Parker, it's not even like just healthcare now. The justice system needs to be like put on. It doesn't even feel productive even for them. Even for like those fucking companies. You know?
designed to just take you up.
I feel it's a lose-lose.
Like, in the next 2-3 months, I'm going to have to find a way to move. I don't have any family. So I'm going to go hang out with some friends and try to do that while I'm suing a company for what happened. But in the meanwhile, there's no help.
And like, how... It's crazy. How much can this guy inside that the old trajectory is really like have time to think about anything else? He's stuck to give all his time to this fucking machine. He cannot do anything else. You know, that's crazy too. You know, going back to like the more like trajectory of those guys inside that system. Like even outside of the pricing of those objects.
For healthcare, and now I'm looking down that I won't have any medication, which means I can't go on walks, I can't sleep, I can't sit, I can't do anything comfortably, I can't even cook. So I just wanted to let you know what's going on with me.
What's the medication you're taking?
Oxycodone. Yeah, 10 by 325. I used to be on 5 a day, so 50 milligrams.
Recognizing that his opiate tolerance was getting far too high, Nicholas asked his doctor to be prescribed pregabalin, an epilepsy medication that also helps with nerve pain.
But the problem with that is once you start taking it for like a month or two, once you stop taking it, the rate for like seizures as a side effect is really high, I'm being told.
Holy
so
shit,
no
bro.
doctors even want to give that to me because I live by myself. You know, I live in Midtown, and I'm about to have no help whatsoever. I'm down to my last 6 days of medication, so...
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to take my email down, we can try to help you. I don't know if you need help moving or, you know, we have extra money and shit if you need help. I mean, it sounds like I got you, man. Yeah, well, I want to help you, man. It sounds horrible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
After this interview, I decided to launch...
And even then, like, when those things happen, it's like, what is the reaction to other people? It's like, yeah, let's do fucking a GoFund.
Me to help Zam move, pay rent, and afford medication, which I kicked off with a $1,000 donation. I hope that collectively we can all pitch in a few bucks and help him to at least get some relief in this objectively horrible situation. He struck me as a great guy, and I'm very blessed to have the platform to help people who need it. I've put the link in the pinned comment in the description of this video. Alright, let's go back to the controversial...
Bro, life, man.
Also in his backpack, according to police, a 3-page handwritten manifesto confessing to the murder of United Healthcare's CEO Brian Thompson and ranting about other health insurance bosses.
Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming.
And so whenever you read that manifesto and you noticed that parallel, did you resonate with the frustration that Luigi felt?
I'll be honest, yeah. I don't know if the manifesto is real or not. Like he said, you can't trust anything the NYPD says. Yeah. But in regards to what it said, like not being able to sleep, rolling over, like...
Yeah.
There were days, you know, I had someone who used to come and help me at where if I didn't have medication, like if it was on back order before my surgery, I would be throwing up from the pain. I couldn't, like, crawling to the bathroom. Like, it was fucking terrible. And, sorry, and also...
So I did, Clara said if she wants to play League with me. Come on, Clara, play League with me. No. No.
Not the real news. You can curse all you want.
As illustrated by this conversation, there's been many disputes regarding the authenticity of the alleged Luigi manifesto. However, the journalist who leaked it is quite reputable, so I believe it to be real. And I had many questions for him. Here's what Ken had to say.
I'm Ken Klippenstein. I'm an investigative reporter.
You made the choice to leak Mangione's manifesto to the public. I want to know why you made that choice.
Well, I just thought it was media paternalism at its worst to withhold this on, I think, the dubious grounds that releasing this out of the public is going to be like some kind of code word, like in the Manchurian Candidate, where it's just going to activate something in everyone's brain and cause them to take out acts of violence against other CEOs. I mean, all this sounds very familiar to me. It reminds me of the argument that violent video games is causing shootings. I think it's just scapegoating something else because people don't want to deal with the underlying issue of why would the health insurance industry produce grievances of the sort that would cause people to find memes about this person dying funny. That's the question that people should be looking at. And to me, that is the kind of active ingredient in all of it.
Yeah, you can study like the fucking reaction to people too, right? Like why do people like are seeing that fucking death like that way? Ugh.
Their finger and saying, oh, if we just take it down from everywhere. I mean, I had, internal chats from the New York Times staff leaked to me showing that they were instructed from on high above, like senior management, telling him, we need to, quote, dial down the use of Mangione's photo, his headshot in pictures. The idea being we don't want to, play into the glorification of him. And the idea that a picture of somebody is going to intrinsically just, again, cause everyone, like, it shows you how much contempt they have for the public, that they think people are zombies that are just going to see something and just act it out, and there's no critical thought that happens.
Is that their version of populism, killing CEOs?
And look, to the extent that they're justifying this, what they're doing even worse is they're tacitly encouraging copycats.
So you're saying that the
copycat is the woke virus. The woke virus doesn't want to still working now.
Like a V for Vendetta final.
Wait, I need to add to my encyclopedia. Working. That is a big thing to add. Working. You forgot about that. You forgot how working is human. I'm gonna add video games again. League of Legends. Okay. Okay.
Scene in Joker, contagious wave of assassinations happening.
He's just a character. The thing with Luigi is he's the character a part of the Americans just wished the story. You know, he's the story that people really like. It's a story that explains their problems. You know, it's just a great story that people just bought up. It fits with the problems they have. It's like, oh, that's the story I need. Luigi.
In fact, they use that word contagion. If you look at what the
it's just a great story, man.
Intelligence, which is a very big office.
Great story that man, but the reason that that's the story really works well, it's like, you know, why does it work that well, that much?
Is, you know, on the footing of a national agent.
Why do you think is photos are that popular? You know, like why?
See, multi-billion-dollar.
Like, come on.
And, she gave a public speech to the Atlantic Council, a think tank, in which she described this explicitly in, you know, counter-terror terms, including the speech being expressed in support of Mangione. And so it's not just about him as an individual. They are treating this, like you said, and using the word contagion. There's this whole, you know, law enforcement theory that it's almost like the Cold War.
Contagion, but how much does that the story is going to make you act? You know, it's like, how much can you say a story is like dangerous?
Or Vietnam, the idea that it's going to jump from communism will jump from one country to another, and then it'll spread to another.
Ooh.
I haven't seen any evidence for that. To date, there's no.
So he's saying that the Luigi is like just a reminder of like the communism.
Multi-billion-dollar
spreads.
In fact, they use that word contagion. If you look at what the
contagion
NYPD intelligence, which is a very
they say it's like the story is a virus.
Office NYPD is, you know, on the footing of a national agency, multi-billion-dollar budget, and she gave a public speech to the Atlantic Council, a think tank, in which she described this explicitly in, you know, counter-terror terms, including the speech being expressed in support of Mangione. And so it's not just about him as an individual. They are treating this, like you said,
like psychologically. Like how does that story is going to be so?
There's this whole, you know, law enforcement theory that it is almost like the Cold War, or Vietnam. The idea that it's going to jump from communism will jump from one country to another, and then it'll spread to another. I haven't seen any evidence for that. To date, there's no example of somebody shooting someone else in response to this. There is an example of a lot of people posting mean tweets and things, but to say that that is comparable to, you know, murdering somebody, there's just no comparison, and so there's no evidence for it. I mean, I guess what they would say is, well, wait and see.
Yeah.
But what it says to me is that there's a lot of people in the intelligence community that don't know how to read the internet and don't understand irony and don't understand sarcasm and don't understand.
I don't understand stories. It's like their life must be so boring. No, like nothing. They just I don't know what are they consuming. But like, damn, they must be like boring as stories.
And so they take it at face value and say, wow, there's this army of V for Vendetta masks that are just going to, you know, come out in force with pitchforks and come after us. And that really seems to be what the manner in which they're responding. It's a sort of moral panic I think we're seeing right now. And my hope is that people will look at more and more of the evidence come out, not just in the form of the manifesto, but the trial that's going to happen, and say, hey, there's much more to this story than that some guy snapped and just went crazy or whatever.
Yeah, I think there's a big conversation to be had too around the idea of violence. You know, I think that, of course, we know shooting someone in the head or in the body, wherever he was shot, that's violence. That's, you know, you're shooting someone. People think of fist fighting and those kind of actions. Assassinations that's violence. But they don't use that term when they think about policies that lead to people dying and healthcare and medicine crises that result in people dying.
Yeah.
People's claiming.
And they just putting the fault at the story that Luigi does more than the context of real life that could like lead to those actions, you know? It's like, it's so simple to just say, oh, the story of Luigi is going to be radicalize everyone, when, you know, radicalization is way more than just a catchy story you're going to follow. There's way more motivation to like radicalize yourself, right?
I mean, that effectively is a form of violence. You might not be being strangled to death, but you would have otherwise lived if it wasn't for their policies.
Yeah, yeah.
Gives you the freedom to tell your story.
But they can say like, well, you know what, that story can influence still.
And when you look at the
I don't know what to say
discussion
about
on
that.
this. Let's be frank. One person who died. Again, there has been no other attempt to kill anybody anywhere else. No evidence of a copycat attack. It's hard to look at that and say there's any other reason for that than that he was a really rich, powerful person, and he's still benefiting from that status even in death. While literally tens of thousands of people die from having to ration insulin, for just one example, something that costs pennies on the dollar to manufacture. It's a disgrace. What do you even say to that? And the fact that the people in sort of the corporate media.
Okay, so the penicillin, that's just one economical way to see like the problem is like, why is it that the product's so expensive? There's also like, again, there's even now radicalization. Like, do you think that someone that goes through that fucking system can just have the context to get radicalized? And one of those influences could be like a story, like, you know,
I can't understand why somebody would be driven to rage over that. Whether or not you support what he did, not understand that mindset. It's like, wow, they're really out of touch. They don't get it.
Yeah.
No, they get it. They just get one part of it, and they have difficulty seeing the rest. It's like they get one part and they stuck on it, and they're going to generalize that one part to everything. When there's like so many stuff that they forgot about to like complexify their thinking.
They never will get it, but it's okay. If
No
you'd
one-
like to see our full
no one knows how to
uncut interview
think.
with Ken, where we break down
Free
the
speech.
manifesto
Where's the
sentence by
thinking?
sentence and discuss everything under the sun, go to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/channel5. As many of you know, we are totally independent and mostly crowdfunded. So if you'd like to
Run in
support
the
us and see
back
some
rooms.
uncensored, exclusive content, head on over.
Whoa.
I'll put the link also in the description and bio.
Look at
Thanks.
those mountains.
Channel 5 live worldwide.
Channel 5, Channel 5, Channel 5.
Fuck the authority. Channel 5 News.
Channel 5.
55. We don't fuck with custers. And 5 is the best number.
Channel 5 radicalized me.
200, like just for this video alone, I said a lot of things.
I can charge you 200 too.
You can't. You know why? You know you can't?
Why?
I'm a part of Lyrical Lemonade, which is a contract company. I said 4 things that are copyrighted. I'm under them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know Cole?
Cole?
Yeah,
Cole Bennett?
Yeah.
He actually has 3 videos of mine on YouTube.
Damn, so you got a lot of shit going on.
This is a reminder that we also have a lot of shit going on. And one particular new project that we're very excited about.
Damn, look at that.
Called Canal 5 con
Hey!
Some of you may have seen
Channel
our coverage
5,
of
what is up, esa gato
sex
gordo?
tourism in Tijuana. And back
Hey!
then, Channel 5 was expanding its operations to the Spanish-speaking world. Well, Dios mío, you're goddamn right. And we've taken things a step further and hired an actual team of voice actors to overdub all the classic Channel 5 videos. So you can watch classics like Connecticut Kia Boys,
Cualquier destornillador, cualquier cable USB y consigue el auto que quieras.
Crip Mac,
Coster, es así en la 55.
the Hoff Twins,
¡Tequila!
Yo puedo hacer esto. Esta es mi casa. Sigue grabando, negro.
and even more recent videos like West Virginia Snake Church.
Sí, su nombre es Jesús.
He's making such
all in
like
Spanish.
great videos.
But we need some help getting our new channel off the ground. So if you guys don't mind, head over, give us a sub, a comment, or a like.
I'm biased.
I'll leave a link in the
I'm biased, that's cool.
comment in the description along with the others. Have a great Christmas.
Thank you. Ah, 555.